my secrets, nothing more. I checked the drawers, I checked the spikes, left me hanging in my Nikes. Last night we tore up the town, now my wallet's not around. Call the cops or play it smooth, pay my debts and start anew. Hey, hey, where'd it go? My cash, my cars, my flow. Don't you know what's gone? Now I'm broke from dusk till dawn. Dancing lights and screaming bass, drinks were flowing in that place. Left a tip but lost my grip, now my wallet's gonna slip.
In a world where financial advice is as blurry as a wild night of cheap Jell-O shots, clear your head and your monetary halitosis with the About That Wallet Show hosted by Anthony Weaver. Leave those Jell-O shots for the amateurs and learn to indulge in the top shelf bottles, baby. Now, here's your host, Anthony Weaver.
What up, everybody? Hopefully y'all are having a wonderful time today on this Friday Eve, man. So to let y'all know, this is, if y'all new here, this is the About That Wallet Show where we help the sandwich generation build strong financial habits so that they can talk about money, spend money, and enjoy their money with confidence. And today we have somebody who's actually an expert in cybersecurity. And I mean, talking about saving your money and protecting it is something that we miss out on a lot. How you doing today, Robert?
I'm good, thank you.
Yeah, so, right now we know a lot of the statistics haven't come out yet for 2025, but we at least know within the first quarter of 2025 that almost $725,000 have been taken from the elderly within the first quarter. What can you say could contribute to that, and how could we protect ourselves?
Yeah, it's billions. Your parents are our parents, the boomers. They're one of the biggest targets of a lot of the fraud that occurs right now. Being a money guy, you may or may not be familiar with. There's right now the largest transfer of wealth right now is happening right now. About $124 trillion is being transferred from the baby boomers, the greatest generation as well, to us, like Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z, millennials. Our parents and grandparents essentially have trillions of dollars in wealth from, working their entire adult lives, compounded interest, saving, paying off their mortgages, and then what? Like pensions and annuities, right? And all that money eventually is going to their kids, their grandkids. That's, my dad, 78 years old. Eventually, he's going to go. All that wealth will be transferred. But here's the deal. That generation is the most moneyed left on the planet, right? Mm-hmm. They are the least technically savvy. Yep. Okay. They are the most trusting left on the planet.
True.
And the reality of it is we're all at some level, in them cognitively declining. Okay. So as that occurs, a lot of the scams are geared towards getting that money from them. Mm. And so what we're seeing right now is all the phone calls that we get, all the emails that we get, all the text messages that are all designed to, siphon our bank accounts. In a big way, they're geared to get the baby boomers' attention, to get them wrapped up in all these various frauds. And there's never been a time in human history that the bad actors are as good as they've ever been. They're excellent at what they do. What they do is almost perfect. And many of us don't really stand a chance, because when I say that, a lot of us don't give security a second thought. A lot of us don't actually pay a lot of attention to the basics, the 101 of cybersecurity, personal security for that matter. You know, like how many people do you know, or like have taken a self-defense class? How many people do you know that actually have a home security system where like they have an alarm system? You know, how many people do you know that use a password manager or use a different passcode across all their various accounts and so forth? And like when I engage my audiences, like in a live presentation, you know, one like me and a couple hundred people, I ask a lot of qualifying questions like, you know, how many of you actually are using a different passcode across all your critical accounts? If I get 15% of the room to raise their hand that they're using a different passcode everywhere, that's a lot, which
Oh,
means like
wow.
85% of the public are using the same passcode everywhere, you know? And then there's like two-factor authentication. How many are you using two-factor authentication across all your critical accounts, including your email? If I get 20%, that's a lot. So like 80 to 90% of us walk around with like weak passwords. We're not using two-factor authentication. And we're making it really easy for the bad guy to do their job. And our parents, you know, they're looking to us for like to fix their computer or to, you know, help them manage their digital lives. And
Yep.
it's troublesome, but it's manageable if you invest in a little bit of mind share into, you know, knowing how to recognize risk.
And the funny thing is, I actually have my mom. She actually asked me recently, like, "Hey, I got a virus." And I was like, "What did you click on?" Like, she was like, "I'm just trying to do my basic shopping." But going back to being sophisticated, and again, they're getting really good. So, how can we actually kind of one help our parents out to kind of recognize some of this stuff when we're not there?
Well, for one, I would like at a minimum have remote access to your parents' computer, like know how to do that, you know, so that you can like manage their digital devices from afar if necessary. I would definitely keep your parents' devices updated. And what I mean by that is like they shouldn't be on like a you know 2019 Dell laptop. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like if she uses an iPhone, she should be on a Mac because Macs are a bit more secure. And a newer Mac, you know, like it's worth it to have the newer hardware, which has the newer security software. They're just better, faster, cleaner, and more secure. And then, you know, um, make sure that like she's using a different passcode across each account. Make sure she has two-factor authentication turned on. And I know that like even the thought of that for some people might be just a bit overwhelming and a
Yeah.
little bit too much. And they may not like be savvy to that stuff. But like if you do one account at a time, just kind of slowly, right? And set up a password manager, which is a relatively easy thing to do. And many of them are free or for a small fee. And just like one by one, walk them through these processes. They should be good, you know. Like my dad's not all that technically savvy, but he knows enough, you know, to get himself in trouble. But he also knows enough to like manage his devices in such a way where he knows how to turn them on and off, knows how to update them, knows how to navigate to all his various apps, you know. And I have to kind of get on him about like passwords and stuff. But it's like you spend a little bit of time with them, and then depending on where they're at in their lives, it may also be a good thing to be able to tap into their various financial accounts. And what I mean when I say that is maybe like you have a say over where the money goes and when it goes, you know,
Mm.
like they can't make large financial transfers or wires or withdrawals without a cosigner. Like have some control or say over what's going on just so that, you know, they don't get scammed and wire $20,000 to who they think is somebody who has their best interests.
Right. And especially if it's a loved one, like you hear a lot of the times, it's like, "Oh, well, I thought it was you on the other end of the phone," but not double check with the person and like hang up and then actually call you back because, it's trustworthy.
Anytime you see on TV or in a magazine or a newspaper, an article, you know, a particular scam that you have a sense or a feeling that your loved one might fall for, send it to them. Make them, you know, hey, watch this. You might learn something from it. You know, the more informed they are, like, forewarned is forearmed, as they say. And the more they understand these things, you know, the better off they're all going to be. Like, look at our parents made it this far. You know, they've been smart enough to navigate life this far. They're just not nearly as technically savvy as some of the younger generations, but that doesn't mean that they can't handle it. You know, they can handle it. They just may not want to.
That part.
You know, they may need like a little, you know, cajoling. But in general, you know, if they are engaged in risky behavior, if they're doing things that like infect their device or potentially, you know, watching late night TV and laying money down on various, you know, late night TV ads or charities or whatever that they shouldn't be, or buying, you know, vitamins or medicines to make them feel 30 years younger, like just tap into like, you know, their spending habits and what do they got going on, and is it okay or is it not okay, and just, you know, don't have like invasive conversations, but conversations that just kind of like, you know, reveal what's happening.
Mm. Yeah, so we have a question in the chat here that says, is by Brian coming in from Facebook, actually saying, what is the best way to make sure your information is safe on the internet?
So when your information is like online, what might that mean? Like it's a lot of our information is online, right? On Facebook and X and wherever, right? And those online accounts basically need to be locked down with a different passcode for each account, not using the same passcode twice. It's kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
And and the reason is, and just so people understand, the reason why you don't use the same passcode twice is that in the past 15, 20 years, by my calculations and others, there's been about 175 billion with a B, records compromised. And those records are our personal identifying information, our names, our addresses, in many cases, our social security numbers. It's our usernames, it's our account numbers. And they say that there's like 15 billion passcodes of ours on the internet. Okay. So if that's the case, if your information is like online, it's on the dark web, let's say, right?
Mhm.
You really can't do a whole lot about it being out there. But what you can and should do is do things to make the data that the bad guys have access to online in the dark web useless to the thief. So how do you make the data useless? And what does that actually mean? So for example, like if you know that like there's 15 billion passwords floating around on the internet and you're potentially using the same passcode across multiple accounts, how would you make your exposed passwords on the dark web useless to a thief? How would you do that?
Well, like you said, either change one of the characters on another password,
Yeah.
at least not on the important ones, and not use. I've seen this happen, which is use the password that you have for your grocery store login, the same as for your actual bank account. Like,
Well, exactly.
it doesn't make sense.
Exactly. And that's just common sense. That's just like 101 stuff. So changing up your passcodes is like the first step, you know. And the way to go about that is using a password manager.
Mm.
So if you're not already using a password manager, it's basically a download. It's a software that you install like in your browser. It's like a tab in your browser or an icon in your browser, an extension. And that tool, that password manager, that software, it allows you to create long and strong passcodes like uppercase, lowercase, numbers, characters, passcodes that you're never going to remember, but you don't need to remember them because the password manager remembers them for you, right?
Yep.
And then from there, you know, another way to make your credentials that are on the dark web useless to the thief is to set up two-factor authentication. So that's, you know, when you log in with a username, which is often an email address and then a passcode, whatever it might be. And then you get a one-time text message to your phone. That one-time text message, that is the second factor, your phone being that second factor along with that, you know, one-time text. That is designed to make, if they do have your passcode, useless to the thief.
Yep.
These
So-
basic things are what keep your data that is online either A, useless to the thief, or safe and secure.
Yeah, because I want to add in on that for some people who don't understand what two-factor. It's like something you have, something you know, and something. What is it called? Something you have, something you know, and something you are. I think that's the third factor. Like if you don't,
Biometrics.
yeah, biometrics. So, like you know, when you put your thumb on your phone for the biometrics, they ask you if you want to use that or not from time to time. So, you know, granted that we understand the two-factor, we understand that now that we have to make sure we change our passwords. You talk about a password holder. Is there anyone in particular, or is there a couple of them that you kind of recommend to your audience?
So password manager, right?
Mhm.
And I'd say to everybody, like when I am doing a live presentation in front of a group, all I do just to show everybody like what to do and what password manager to get is I'll just do a quick Google search for password manager. And when you do that, the first page of search generally is like articles like Wired Magazine, um, PC Magazine, right? PCMag.com. They'll have like an article that is like the 10 best password managers for 2026, right? And generally, like they're making like a little bit of a commission depending on what you purchase or click or whatever, which is fine. But they're doing all the research to determine like which is the best one, which is the most user friendly, which is the cheapest one, like which ones are the best overall. They rate them, they review them, and all that like work that they're doing saves us a little bit of time, and it gives you some insight as to like what's going on here and how they work, and they do all the legwork for you. So that's what I recommend. I've been using a password manager since 2004. So I'm going on like 21 years with this particular password manager. I don't know if I'd recommend it. There's RoboForm, there's 1Password. It's like number one password.
Yeah, I remember 1Password. Yeah.
Yeah. There's LastPass, there's Dashlane, and people like 1Password a lot. You know, that's a pretty popular one. You know, and they all pretty much do the same thing. They're all relatively secure as they need to be. You know, often people say, well, what if the password manager gets hacked? You know, that certainly is a consideration.
Mhm.
But think of it like this, like the password manager itself, the companies, they're security companies, you know, they have bank level military grade encryption, and the likelihood of them getting hacked in a way where all of our data is exposed in plain text is pretty slim, you know. And so don't worry about that, because the low hanging fruit really is the 15 billion passwords on the dark web. You know,
Yep.
that's easy to get. So once you engage the password manager, you'll find like, why did I not have a password manager 10 years ago? Because there's such a great use of your time and your
Mhm.
money when it comes to your personal security.
Awesome. Yeah, and most of them too, if you are looking from estate planning side of the house, I think it would be a great practice is to actually reprint out every quarter your password list. So just go inside your password manager, print it out, have a hard copy for your estate plan.
You
I just think
mentioned
that'd be
estate
good.
plan. I love that.
Mhm.
So my family, my girls, my honey, they have access to my password manager, right?
Nice.
There's going to be a day when I am no longer going to be on this earth.
Mhm.
And so it's important for me, to me, and I think it's important to them that when I perish, they have access to all my accounts. It's going to happen. And so when it does, they have access to all my financial accounts. Every single account that I possess that has any money in it whatsoever is in my password manager. And it's important that they know that, and they know where to access it all, and they know how to get in. You know, otherwise, like you might be leaving money on the table when you pass, and
Mhm.
who gets that? The state gets that, you
Yep.
know, and why do that? Additionally, I've also told my family when I go, and hopefully it's not going to be for like 20, 30 years, but who knows, right? When
Mhm.
I go, make sure you pay the bill on
Pay
this
the
thing for a
bill.
while. Make sure you pay the mobile phone bill for at least a couple of years. Why? And I'll
Mm.
ask you, why pay the bill on the mobile phone for the next couple of years?
For the couple years, I would say it could just be, just annual bank transactions that are coming through. You need that for your two-factor
Two factor.
authentication. Yeah.
That's it. Two
Until
factor.
you change everything over, you be like, man, I forgot to log into this one. Good thing I got the phone
Yeah,
access.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Stay plugged into my email, stay plugged into my phone. Like, because if you're monitoring it, you don't know what's going to come up. Like something could come up that you forgot about, that you missed, and it could be tens of thousands of dollars. Who knows? And I work for them. So I want them to make sure that there's continuity there.
Oh wow. So we got a question coming in from getting the win, and her name is Mel T. So she asks here, which is Is it wise to log into things via Google accounts, or should we manually create passwords for each thing? Now, I know what you're going to say. Let me take this one for you. Go get it. You're like, hey, use the password manager.
Well, that's a smart question.
Okay.
So using like social logins, using Google to log in, there's nothing wrong with that. Like Google knows what they're doing. They're fine, right? Having two-factor authentication set up with Google is like fundamental. You have to do that. Having two-factor authentication set up with Apple, that's fundamental. You have to do that, right? And if you're using social logins or Google to log in or Facebook to log in, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. If that's the path of least resistance for you, if that's what you want to do, that's good. I will say that I don't do that. And I don't do that not because it's insecure. I don't do that because I want to have a little bit more control over access. And I want to be able to like easily log out and easily log in and have control over the password and the login process itself. And the password manager facilitates that process for me. And, like I'm also on Macs and Windows machines, and I have Android devices, and I have iPhones. I'm working across a bunch of different operating systems, a bunch of different hardware systems. And so the password manager is ubiquitous across all those devices. So I have it installed everywhere.
Mhm.
And the nice thing about that is that like I can use the password manager to automatically take me to my bank. Like I don't have to type in bankofamerica.com. I just go to the password manager and it's right there. I click it. It brings me right to the website and it logs me right in, which is nice. And with all of your various websites, that's what it does. And also like I also generally log out of various websites, on purpose. I don't usually stay logged in. I would say, I'm probably logged into Amazon right now, which is probably a problem for me
Right.
because I'm on it too much. That said, like there's very few websites that I'm always logged into beyond like certain commerce sites in Gmail, Google,
That makes sense.
but I'm usually logging out of everything after I've logged in, done my business, then I log out. That's just the best safety practices,
Yeah. And that is something that's interesting, because I use it for I create certain Gmail accounts just for those easy logins.
Sure.
And so that it's not tied to, because when you actually look closely at what access that is asking for, it's like, oh yeah, we get to read your email or we get to do this. Like reading that fine print is very important before looking into that. So
In regards to that fine print, you don't necessarily have to check all those boxes either. Like you can still use Google as a tool to log in, but you can not check certain boxes and they won't necessarily need to see that stuff. Sometimes we just think that we have to or supposed to, but you don't always have to.
okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So so Robert, you become like an expert, been doing this for a long time. Can you just take us back to like 1995? Like what was a pivotal moment in your life to happen around that time frame?
Yeah. I got hacked.
Oh geez. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So I had a small mail order business back in the early 90s, like because I'm old as F. And I, like was one of the first people that I knew that had access to the internet. I had a computer. I had what was called an IBM computer. It was an IBM PS1 Consultant was the model,
Okay.
with Windows 3.0 and 150 megabyte hard drive.
Wow.
Imagine.
Oh, I remember the Windows 3.0, 3.1.
Yeah. Oh, do you? Okay.
Yeah.
And I would never peg you for being, frankly, that old.
Oh.
And then, so I had a dial-up connection to AOL, and I had the ability to accept credit cards via merchant status, via my dial-up. And within a month of plugging in and going online and establishing a website to sell product, I got hacked. I lost like $3,000 in product through credit card fraud.
Jeez.
And when that happened, like, I was in my mid to late 20s. This is, we're talking 30 years ago. And that was a lot of money. Like $3,000 was a lot of money to me back then. It was devastating. But as difficult as it was, I was amazed at what they did. Like my business has always been personal protection. Like part of my business was teaching women self-defense, how to avoid, violence and a sexual assault. Like that's always been my thing. Like personal protection has always been my thing ever since I was a kid, teaching self-defense and everything else. And so, but when I got hacked, I was like, this is a whole nother level of theft. Like back then, theft was like in the physical world, pickpockets, muggers, burglaries, and home invasions. But that was it. That was theft. Ponzi schemes. That was it. But then when I got hacked and lost all this virtual money, I was like, I need to know how that happened. Like, how did that happen? Like, how do they do that? Like, that's awful and awesome all at the same time. Right? Because if they can do that to me, think about what they can do to others. Like, and for me, like, I always like to reverse engineer the bad guys, operation. How do they do what they do and expose that so we understand how it works so we can defend ourselves from it. And so I figured it all out and started to talk about it, speak about it, write about it, and wrote a book on it. And eventually identity theft creeped into the lexicon. And what that means is like government agencies going online, your local city hall, state and federal agencies started to get hacked in the late 90s.
Yep.
Social security numbers started to get exposed. And when that started to happen, identity theft became a thing in the late 90s. In the early 2000s, it was like data breach after data breach after data breach. And that is still happening. There's an average of like 2,500 to 3,000 data breaches every single year at this point. If I said this already, there's like 175 billion records, 175 billion records, our records exposed. I've had criminal hackers email me my social security number. Hey, security guy, here you go.
Because you labeled yourself as a security guy. Yeah.
Yeah. So 95 was like a pivotal point in like, being a victim, I guess. And, but already being in business and already talking about personal security. And for me, your virtual security, your identity is personal. Your physical security is personal. Like personal security is protecting my being, protecting my identity. It's all the same thing to me. And it should be to everybody, because if you harness personal security, how it affects you holistically, your whole being, not just your, protecting yourself from physical violence, but also like your personal information, your identity, your data, your dollars. It's a lot easier to engage in the process of personal protection if you look at the big picture and all the various strategies you need to implement, habits you need to create in order to make sure that when the bad guy does look at you, they go, yeah, no, he or she, they've got too much going on. They've got too much security going on. I'm going to move on to somebody else. It's about becoming a tougher target. It's about doing a bunch of little things, changes in behavior that make you a hardened, tougher target.
I see what you did there. Because I used to do hardening years ago for machines. How can we harden our credit? Because I noticed a lot of people ask me about like a credit score and make sure our credit's fine. But some things they always forget is how to harden their credit so they don't get tapped into.
So there's a couple ways to go about that. You can pay for identity theft protection, which is not a bad investment. Identity theft protection is like $15 to $35 a month. It's not entirely necessary. It's not a bad thing. Like it's a good thing, Otherwise, a credit freeze. So have you heard of a credit freeze?
Yeah, I've done it when it used to be $5 for every time you turn it on and off, and now it's free. And I was like,
hey, you might be as old as I am. I don't know. You look a hell of a lot better than I do. But listen, like a credit freeze has been around since 2008.
Yep.
Okay. And back then, yeah, you had to pay for it. Yeah. It was like $10. Since 2000, 18, 19,
Yeah, it was around
since
there.
the Equifax data breach, right? So Equifax was breached like 2017, 18. Congress got together and said, listen, enough is enough. Credit freezes should be free. It should be a right to freeze your credit. And it is. So a credit freeze is a tool that is free that if you go to TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax, the three major credit bureaus, that you can freeze your credit for free. It's easy to do, like relatively easy. And it's just a matter of, you signing up, filling out an affidavit, right? Setting up an account. And then from there, you freeze your credit. Like it's just a matter of checking a box and saying, I want my credit frozen. And so in the future, if anybody gets your social, which that's kind of a given, what they do is they apply for credit under your name. And when they fill out that application is submitted through credit card company, bank, car dealership, and it's denied because the car dealership can't see your credit scores. And if they can't see credit scores, they're not going to sell you a car, or the bad guy who's trying to buy a car under your name, right? So the beauty of a credit freeze is it locks down your credit report so that the lenders can't see your credit scores. And the best part about it is that, like on your mobile phone, on this thing, right?
Mhm.
I've got the Experian app, the TransUnion app, and the Equifax app,
Well, I
right?
got all three. Okay.
Yeah, all three. And, I'm logged in, right? And I just go to the app and I just go to my credit freeze in the app. And in under a minute, you can thaw your credit at each of the credit bureaus, like a minute. So 3 minutes, you can thaw your credit temporarily. You don't want to completely thaw your credit. It's just temporarily. So if you want to apply for a credit card or apply for a loan to buy a car or lease a car, whatever it might be, you go to your app, which is so easy, temporarily thaw. It's free. And then you have it reset the freeze for like a day or two later. Simple as that.
Nice. Yeah. Because I didn't realize they could do it through the app. I always did it through the computer. Because when I was doing it, it was before they even came up with the app. So it was like I'm already comfortable just logging in, like get
Yeah.
it done.
Yeah.
So, um, so with this notion of our data just being out there all the time, and we trying to figure out the best way to kind of protect ourselves, is it just kind of like just take our information at this point? Because like you got Teslas now watching everything. There's cameras that are being posted up, watching us as we go through our cities and
Yeah.
states. Is there any true security besides being in a box and don't go anywhere?
Well, okay. So there's a couple of aspects to this. There's privacy and there's security.
Okay.
That's how I look at it. So privacy is information out there that could be used to invade your privacy, whatever that might mean. It might mean, exposing inappropriate or embarrassing or whatever that you might say or post or do, or that might, reflect badly on you, might damage your online reputation, let's say. Okay. So there's privacy issues. People know where you live. They know what you like to eat. They know certain aspects of your life that you may not or may not care that is exposed. Privacy. And frankly, I'm not overly concerned about that, to be honest. But then there's security. And security is a little bit different. That's where I come from. Security is like, okay, that's bad actors. That's sociopaths and psychopaths. That's hardcore narcissists that have access to information that can be used to do harm. That harm could be physical harm or financial harm. Privacy is like, whatever. To me, that might mean something different to others. More than anything, I'm concerned about physical safety and my money. I'm concerned about the physical safety of my girls and my investments. So that's what matters to me. That said, we put a lot of data out there on purpose, right? And I don't know that it's necessary to put as much information out there as we do. I don't put a lot of information out there that is unnecessary. Like, for example, I'm not going to post that I'm on vacation,
Right.
where I'm at, who I'm with, the fact that I'm not home. I'm not posting that ever. I don't do that because that tells somebody who's paying attention to me that I'm not home, that my house potentially is vulnerable. So I'm not doing that. I never do that. And I like, my birthday's out there. You probably wouldn't have a very, very difficult time finding my physical address. You might have a difficult time finding my mobile phone number. So I use a Google Voice number to mask my mobile phone number.
Yep.
So I do things like I go on information brokers occasionally, and like I'll scan every 3 to 6 months, like my mobile phone number, my physical address, and I'll actively work to like try to remove that stuff from the internet, because I don't necessarily want people to know where I live or my mobile phone number for that matter. So you can actively try to, erase that data from the internet if you want to. And for me, that's not a bad thing because I got girls and I'm kind of a public figure. Like I've done a lot of TV and radio and print. I'm kind of out there. I put myself out there.
Yeah, you're out there.
And I don't necessarily want people to know where I live, but it's not entirely difficult to find that. If somebody who really wants to, they could. But that doesn't mean that I should give up and do nothing. Like I'm not going to have a fatalist attitude. Like, oh, if they got it, they got it. What am I going to do? I'm going to do what's necessary to make it harder for them, at least,
Okay, so what I'm gonna do right now, we're gonna take a quick commercial break, and then we're gonna come in. I got a YouTube video that I think will kind of go inside with this. We're gonna start talking about the kids now,
Okay.
how to protect them. So
Yeah, important.
yeah, it's gonna be interesting. All right, so it's gonna be a short trivia commercial. Those of you who've been watching this, it's only about like a minute 30 seconds. So, all right, see y'all in a bit. All right. Hopefully y'all learned something new today. So that was fun. So before we get to this little commercial, what are you drinking, by the way?
I'm doing a G&T.
Oh, nice. Gin and tonic. Can't go wrong with that.
Nice and clean.
Yeah. I'm doing the Chairman's Reserve rum from St. Lucia. Somebody gave it to
I'll
me. as a
check you
gift.
out, man. I love it. That's great.
I didn't realize how strong it was. I was like, man, this is what they drink in St. Lucia?
It's rum.
Right. So for y'all out there in the audience, what are y'all drinking? If y'all know, if y'all new here, sorry, we do have a drink session here. We like to drink on the live shows, celebrate we made it this far in the week, because no, tomorrow's never promised. All right, so this video clip, just kind of talk about it. It's actually talk about cybersecurity in the sense of what we're talking about now, but we're going to start talking about how to protect our children. I don't have kids. I don't plan to. The podcast is my baby, so be nice. Give me a thumbs up. Here we go. All right, so we're going to play this clip. It's only 40 seconds long, but it's actually really interesting on the way how we post for kids.
Hi, Ava. Do you know that man?
Happy birthday, Ava. 8 already? Looks like you did ball with your friends.
Yeah. Duh.
I see you back playing football Thursdays, Ava. Hope your dad picks you up on time for once.
Every time you share their life online, you risk sharing their personal data with the world. Pause before you post. A message from the Data Protection Commission.
I actually thought that was actually pretty powerful. Like the way how they displayed that. And it's like really sad. It's like, well, hopefully he does pick you up on time.
So my girls are 17 and 20,
Mhm.
and they didn't get their mobile phones until they were 14. And the only reason why I got them when they were 14 is because that's when they started getting on the train and going into Boston to go to school.
Gotcha.
Otherwise, we were driving them to school prior to that. They go to private schools. And the only reason why they got phones is because they were out in public on their own every day. Otherwise, I would have waited till they were 16 because I don't think that they should have full-blown access to the internet until they're 16. I just don't think that they're capable of handling it emotionally. Many kids suffer from too much access, too much information, too much stimulation, too much overload, too much bullying, just too much drama. All the families that I know that gave their kids phones prior to the age of 14, a lot of drama, a lot of heartache, frankly. I know a lot of families that gave the kids the phones at the age of 10, and it has not turned out well. Their development gets affected by that. We're just not wired to handle the 24-hour news cycle. We're not wired to instantly receive a video of watching a man get shot in the neck and blood squirt out of the side of his neck and die. That's not a normal thing that adults should be consuming, never mind a 13-year-old or a 9-year-old. And that is normal for a lot of families. That said, I've never posted anything about my kids online. I don't do that. I never have. And I don't do that. I'm not even connected to my wife on Facebook, my daughters on anything. There's no connection there. I'm not posting about them. I'm not affiliated with them. Like, it's just not something that I think is important or necessary. And why post about their whereabouts?
Right.
I don't know that parents are well thought out in this regard. I just think that they do it because other people do it and it's fun, or it's just like normal to them. But I never thought of it as being a normal thing. I always thought of it as being odd and over a little too much, And early on, I saw how pornographers were using Photoshop back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And posting, children's faces on, adult naked pictures. Photoshop. Now, with artificial intelligence and AI face overlay, like now they're creating porn with, kids. And
That's ridiculous.
that's all part of the problem, and it's a technology problem, but it's also a parenting problem. And one of the things that I say in my presentations, like, look at, if you don't understand what to do and how to fix it and how to manage it or how to deal with this technology, just find yourself a 14-year-old. They'll take care of it for you, and they all laugh and think it's funny. And I say, well, that is kind of funny, but I don't know that we should keep laughing about that. I think that we've come to a point now in our culture where I think we need to get control over this. I think we need to get a handle on our digital lives and our children's digital lives in such a way where it's not beyond our capacity. It's not up to the 14-year-old to maintain the family's security. Right. I think the parents need to know as much about their child's digital lives as they do about their physical lives, and that they need to understand as much about their own information security that they should, in order to maintain control over these things. Because the bad actors are paying attention, and they're really good at what they do.
And also, I guess if you leave it up to the 14-year-olds, it's like you get a lot of script kiddies. out there, and it's a common term for people who don't know. It's a for people who just kind of just clicking around, clicking buttons, and not really sure what's going on. And that could also become or pose to a security risk as well, um, if they're not careful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your 14-year-old boy. I was a 14-year-old boy once too. And you know, I don't know about you, but the fact that I am actually alive today, the fact that I did not die in a car accident or OD or get AIDS or like just all the stuff that we did that was like just high risk, like it was just dumb. And if I had access to the internet back then, I can't even imagine. Like there'd be no way you and I would be having a conversation today.
No.
The point of that is that your 14-year-olds, boys often, and sometimes girls, they're adventurous online. And parents need to kind of get a handle on that, you know. Not all kids, uh, you know, but it's a good thing to understand the digital divide between what kids know online and what parents think they know. That divide you need to close that gap and get a little bit of a handle on your kids. Look, there's no such thing as privacy for a 14-year-old.
Right. That's true.
There isn't. You are legally responsible for your kids up until the age of 18. And if they act out or do something or post something or, you know, make a joke that they planted a bomb at the school, that comes back to mom and dad, you know.
But you
So
don't hear about that on the news, though. They always say, "Well, the kid did this." I'm like, "Well, where are the parents?"
the parents throw their hands up in the air and say, my kid knows more about security than I do. And
Mhm.
I get that. And I don't necessarily blame the parents. There is a generational gap here. And look, parenting is hard. It's a lot of work. It's it's just
Okay.
look,
It's a whole nother show.
they say little people, little problems,
Right.
big people, big problems, you know.
Mhm.
And 16, 17, 18, that's big people, big
Right.
problems. It's a lot. And it's a constant, you know, ebb and flow. It's a constant you're constantly fighting fires. That being said, parents are overwhelmed, and you know, rightly so, with the 24-hour news cycle and the chaos of what's going on. The world is on fire, and what's going on out there, and you know, this administration and everything else. It's a lot. And so when parents like don't have a full blown handle on their kids' digital lives, I get it, you know, but it's worth making the effort. Is my point.
Yeah. So that brings up to, like, usually I do this on the back end with all the editing, but it's live. So with the third segment coming up, which is the features, because we getting there now, which is okay. So we talked about how to protect our parents, talked about dealing with the kids. But the future now is kind of like, what habits or skills that you feel as though will be very beneficial to you as we go through, and if you have anything extra you want to leave with the audience.
So my concern right now is AI, and not in the way that most people think, but revolving around, you know, disinformation, misinformation. That's a big deal. You know, state actors, foreign countries that are purposefully setting up bot accounts on all the various socials, sock puppet accounts they call them, that are designed specifically to divide us. They're designed to get us to argue with each other. And who you're really arguing with is a bot. You're arguing with a computer that is set up by a foreign government to make you angry at your neighbor, which is so ridiculous, but it works, you know? So disinformation, misinformation is a really big problem that we need to get a handle on. So don't just like share it and click on it and argue with it. Get the facts, know what you're doing, know what you're engaging with, you know? Don't be so quick to just post and like and share what's out there. Like, just be a little more thoughtful in regards to your digital footprint, right? And the other aspect of the AI is deep fakes and voice cloning. You know, we need to have conversations with our family members in regards to, look, if the phone rings and it's your daughter screaming in the background, bloody murder, that she's being kidnapped, and you've got to pay, $10,000 in ransom for her safety, it's probably a scam. It's a scam. AI has facilitated perfect voice cloning, and the human brain, our ears and eyes can't tell the difference between real and fake at this point. And while the deep fake itself, like the face overlay, is not perfect, it's good enough. And so we really need to be thoughtful about what we're consuming and what we're sharing, and make sure that we don't allow AI to get the best of us. Develop a family passcode. Should your loved one be in distress, there should be a passcode of sorts. It sounds ridiculous, but there should be a passcode that says, whatever the word is, to determine, okay, if this is in fact my daughter on the other end that is in distress, okay, what's the passcode?
Right. Or you could say like, hey, are you okay? And then if they use one of the words that, each word should correlate with something.
What's the family passcode? Is it Italy? What's the passcode?
Okay.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did get a question from Instagram. They were asking, from a security standpoint, how screwed are we?
I'm kind of a painful optimist.
Okay.
And I believe in us. I believe in, look at 97% of the people that you have ever met or will ever meet, 97% are good. They're worthy of your trust. They're just good people, right? That also means that about 3% are not. So I've been doing this for 30 years. And that 3% is made up of what the medical community would call antisocial personality disorders, ASPD. And they are the sociopaths and psychopaths, basically the hardcore narcissists that mean to do us harm. And they're out there, okay? They're a small part of the population. 3% is not minuscule, but it's small enough. That the other 97%, we're doing all right. And we can trust most of us. But that small percentage, they make a lot of noise. And they rattle us. And they're good at what they do. For you and I, for everybody paying attention, it's just a matter of paying attention. It's just a matter of being a bit more thoughtful in regards to your personal security. It's a bit more thoughtful about, using the password manager, never having the same passcode twice, using two-factor authentication, engaging in basic home security, which, why do I bring that up? Because that's where security starts. All security is personal. It all starts with your physical being. Take a self-defense class. And when you wrap your head around basic personal security, information security, protecting your data and your dollars makes a lot more sense, and it's a bit easier. And it's also, you're better at it at work. When you're engaged in phishing simulation training at work, you'll do a better job at that when you've got your own security in order. Right. Credit freezes, all that stuff, And me, Google me. If you can spell Siciliano, Siciliano, Robert Siciliano, I'm all over. And then protectnowllc.com. So protectnowllc.com.
Man, I'm so glad that you actually have a resource that people can go to after hearing all this great information. So you ready for the final 4 questions? I got to ask every guest.
Let's do it.
All righty. I don't have my little music thing here, but it's all right. Number 1, what does wealth mean to you?
Oh, it means having a full life. Yeah.
Okay. Number 2, what was your worst money mistake?
Oh, when I was 12 years old, I went to a carnival, and they had this game that you could throw quarters into this tray. And if you threw the quarter into the tray and it stayed in the tray, they called it the fireman's tray, you'd win all the quarters. There was a lot of quarters in there. I lost 50 cents. I am still reeling about that one, which is why I don't gamble.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Start young.
Yeah. Pissed
Do you
me
take
off.
all your kids there just to do the same? Be like, look, see, that's why you don't gamble.
Yeah.
Number 3, is there a book that inspired your journey or changed your perspective?
It's an older book. It's a fiction book based on real life principles. It's called The Celestine Prophecy with a C. Celestine. Celestine Prophecy. It's a really good book.
Okay. What can you just tell us a little bit about it? I've never heard of it.
Sure. So there's like 10 principles.
Mhm.
And those 10 principles revolve around like relationships and how we interact with each other. And one of the principles that I'll never forget, it talked about like people that you meet that are vampiric in their nature. That like the way I understood it is like you and I, like, we go to bed, we hormones rush all over our body. We wake up rested. And then throughout the day, we expend all that energy. And then we, all over again, we go to sleep. And there are people that we encounter throughout the day that when we encounter them, they suck the energy out of our bodies, right? They are vampiric by their nature.
Mhm.
And when you understand these vampiric people, we could call them narcissists. They are really good at what they do. And they don't have their own personal power. They need to get it from other people. They need to suck it out of each one of us. And that book taught me about that, and I understood it clearly. And so it's allowed me to look at my relationships and how they either contribute to the quality of my wealth or how they suck it away.
I like that. All right, I might have to add that to my book for my birthday. So thanks.
Celestine Prophecy.
So number 4, what is your favorite dish to make?
Oh, yeah. So I'm not much of a cook, but I got a smoker.
Okay.
And I make mad baby backs.
Nice. Like a dry rub, wet rub, what you do?
So I do a dry rub. Yeah.
Okay.
I smoke them in a dry rub. And then what I usually do is like I might even cook them the day before.
Oh,
And then I'll let them rest. And then I'll put them in a tin and I'll put them in the oven. So I finish them off in an oven with an apple cider vinegar and sugar base. So kind of get them steamed up. And then like the last like 20 minutes, I'll just put some barbecue sauce on them. We got like a really nice barbecue sauce. Even Baby Ray's is good. And then just finish them off with that. But they're a dry rub. And then if people want, I do the sauce in the last 20 minutes.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Fall off.
Man. And they call it what? Tendonism?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
All right. So this is the last question of the show, which is where can people find out more about you?
So, protectnowllc.com. So protectnowllc.com.
Sweet.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, man. Robert, this has been amazing. For those of you in the audience, thank you for your questions. I'm gonna give a shout out to everybody here who showed up. So we're gonna go back. Let's see, we got Brian from Facebook. We got Mel T, who goes by getting the win. We had Lisa J Stocks. Thank you, Lisa, for stopping by. And we have Ganyat from Bluebird 092. We have Sambaza. Thank you for coming through. And Jen for y'all coming through. Thank y'all so much. And if anything else, y'all have a great time out there. And remember to do not put your shoes on 2 at a time. Take 1 at a time so you don't trip and fall when you go out there. All right. So Robert, if you can just hang on a little bit, I'm gonna play my outro and then we'll be good to go. All right, boom. All right, see y'all later. Peace.